Before you leave home, your hand performs a small ritual. Pocket, phone, keys, wallet, maybe a bag over your shoulder, maybe a backpack on the floor by the door. You barely think about it. You are not hunting. You are not crossing a frozen plain. You are just stepping outside. But your body still wants to know one thing. Am I carrying what I need? For most of human history, there were no pockets, no zippers, no plastic bags, no cars waiting outside, no store where forgotten things could be replaced in 10 minutes. There were hands, skin, cord, bark, bone, shell, woven fiber, animal hide, and memory. There was hunger somewhere ahead, weather that could change, children who could not walk fast, tools too sharp to hold carelessly, fire materials that had to stay dry, pigments, water, food, and the quiet terror of being far from camp with nothing useful left on the body. So the question is not just what ancient humans carried before pockets. The deeper question is how they learned to carry the future. Because a container is not only an object, it is a decision made before danger arrives. It is the mind saying, I may need this later. That simple act turns survival from reaction into preparation. And when you understand that, your pocket stops looking like a convenience. It starts looking like the last modern trace of a very old human fear. Most people imagine ancient humans moving through the world almost empty-handed. A spear, a stone tool, a piece of meat over one shoulder. The image is simple, physical, almost animal. But it is also misleading because the most important carrying technologies were often the least likely to survive. Hide rots, wood decays, fiber disappears. A basket can change a life and leave almost nothing in the ground. That is why the archaeology of carrying is partly an archaeology of absence. Stone points survive. Bones survive. Shells survive. But the bags that held them, the nets that gathered food, the slings that carried infants, the cords that tied bundles together often vanish. And this creates a false picture. It makes ancient people look poorer in technology than they probably were. The first clue is not one bag. It is a pattern. Researchers studying mobile containers have described them as a keystone human innovation. Bags, baskets, quivers, slings, pouches, boxes, and other ways to keep useful things ready before they are needed. Ethnographic evidence shows that human societies across the world use containers. That matters because containers extend the body. Two hands can carry two things. A bag can carry a small world. Imagine a person leaving camp before dawn. In one hand, a spear. Across the shoulder, a hide pouch. Inside it, a cutting flake, a lump of ochre, cordage, tinder, maybe food wrapped in leaves or skin. None of these objects is dramatic by itself, but together, they mean something extraordinary. This person is not only walking into the landscape, they are walking into possible futures. A place to cut, a wound to seal, a fire to start, a color to mark, a child to feed, a problem not yet visible. That is the hidden intelligence of the container. It is not about carrying more stuff. It is about carrying choices. One of the strongest early windows into this kind of thinking comes from ochre. At Blombos Cave in South Africa, archaeologists found evidence of ochre processing around 100,000 years ago, including shells used like small vessels, grinding stones, hammerstones, and traces of prepared mixtures. The exact uses of the mixtures are still debated. Ochre could have been used for symbolic markings, adhesives, hide treatment, body decoration, or other purposes. But the deeper point is clear. People were collecting materials, processing them, and storing them. That is not a random hand-to-mouth existence. That is staged behavior. First, find the raw material, then grind it, then mix it, then keep it for later. The shell becomes more than a shell. It becomes a container for intention. Picture the cave floor in dim light. A shell sits in the sand, stained red inside. Nearby are stones darkened by use. It's of ochre, bone, ash, human fingerprints now gone. Someone has taken earth color and made it portable. The landscape has been broken down, prepared, and kept. A piece of the outside world has been brought into the human system. That sounds small, but it changes everything. To store something is to believe in later. To carry something is to imagine a future version of yourself needing it. There is another clue from shells at sites like Khafset Cave in Israel, where early modern humans used marine shells with traces of ochre roughly around the same deep period of human prehistory. The interpretation of such shells is not always simple. Some may have been ornaments, some symbols, some social signals, but they still tell us something important. Ancient people were not only moving food and tools, they were moving meaning. A shell with pigment is not survival in the narrow sense. It will not kill an animal. It will not keep rain off your shoulders. Yet it travels with the body. That means ancient carrying was never purely practical. Humans carried what kept groups together: identity, memory, reputation, ritual, perhaps beauty. Modern people do this too. Look inside a purse, a backpack, or a pocket, and you will find more than tools. You will find proof of belonging: a card, a photograph, a receipt, a token. A small object that makes no sense to anyone else, but somehow matters to you. Ancient containers likely held the same double life: survival outside, meaning inside. But the most revealing evidence may come from the materials that almost never survive: fibers. At Abri du Marat in France, researchers reported a tiny fragment of twisted cord associated with a stone tool, attributed to Neanderthals. The cord appears to have been made from plant fibers, likely inner bark from coniferous trees. It is small, almost absurdly small. The kind of thing a person could miss, but its implication is large. Twisting fiber into cord requires selection, preparation, rolling, tension, and sequence. It is not just a motion. It is a process, and once you can make cord, you can tie. Once you can tie, you can bundle. Once you can bundle, you can make handles, nets, mats, snares, straps, bags, and possibly containers that leave almost no direct trace. A piece of string can be the beginning of a new relationship with the world. Think about that carefully. A stone blade cuts. A cord connects. A container organizes. A Neanderthal with cordage is not the old cartoon of brute strength and dull instinct. It is a person living inside systems, fibers from trees, hands trained by repetition, objects joined together, materials prepared in advance. If a stone tool is power, cordage is coordination. It lets the body outsource grip. It lets the hand let go without losing control. That may be one of the quiet revolutions of human life. The container freed the hand. Without containers, every useful object competes with every other object. Carry fire material, and you cannot carry food. Carry a child, and you cannot carry a bundle of roots. Carry a spear, and a sharp flake may cut your palm. But with straps, slings, baskets, pouches, and bundles, the human body becomes layered. Hands can work while objects remain close. The person becomes mobile storage. In Southwest Europe, later evidence makes the hidden world of fibers more visible. At Coves de Santa Mayra in Spain, archaeologists identified braided plant fibers and basketry impressions on clay from the Pleistocene-Holocene boundary. At Cueva de los Murciélagos, also in Spain, exceptionally preserved espartograss objects include basketry and other plant fiber technologies from early Holocene contexts. These finds are much younger than Blombos, but they show what is usually missing from older sites: the woven world. A basket is not just a basket. It is landscape transformed into capacity. Grass becomes fiber. Fiber becomes braid. Braid becomes wall. Wall becomes a hollow space that can hold seeds, tools, shellfish, tubers, fruit, pigments, firewood, or a child's small collected treasures. The container creates a boundary between what is useful and what would otherwise be lost. Imagine a hunter-gatherer returning through scrubland with a woven container against the hip. Inside are gathered plants, perhaps small animals, perhaps materials for later work. Every step says the same thing: what the hands found, the container will remember. Without it, the landscape gives only what can be held in the moment. With it, the landscape can be taken forward. That is the difference between finding and gathering, between luck and storage, between today's hunger and tomorrow's plan. And then there is White Sands. At White Sands in New Mexico, researchers have reported ancient linear traces associated with human footprints, some dated to around 22,000 years ago. One interpretation is that these marks may have been made by travois-like transport technology, poles dragged across soft ground to move loads. The evidence is not a preserved vehicle. It is tracks, lines, footsteps, pattern, so it must be described carefully. But the possibility is powerful. If the interpretation is right, we are not looking at a pocket. We are looking at carrying scaled up. A body pulling more than arms can hold. A group moving weight across an ice age landscape. Perhaps firewood, perhaps meat, perhaps possessions, perhaps a child. We cannot know exactly what was carried, but the marks suggest a human problem that never went away. How do you move life from one place to another? The scene is almost silent. A wet, ancient surface. Human feet pressing down. Long grooves running beside them. Maybe an adult walking with effort. Maybe a child's footprints nearby. The body is still the engine. There is no wheel, no road, no animal team. But there is an idea. Do not carry only with the hands. Make the ground help. This is what ancient technology often looks like. Not shiny, not loud, not mechanical in the modern sense. A shell, a cord, a basket, a dragged pole. Simple materials arranged so the body can survive a larger world. The mechanism behind all of this is deeply human. Your brain is not built only to react to what is in front of you. It is built to simulate what might happen next. Hunger before food runs out. Darkness before sunset. Injury before bleeding. Distance before exhaustion. This ability, sometimes called foresight or future thinking, becomes physical through objects. A container is a thought you can wear. It also reduces anxiety. Not perfectly, not magically, but practically. When the needed object is close, the unknown becomes smaller. The prepared body feels different from the empty body. You know this already. You feel it when you leave your phone behind. You feel it when your keys are missing. The modern panic is not only about the object, it is about the sudden loss of readiness. Ancient humans likely lived with a far sharper version of that feeling. To forget a tool could mean wasted energy. To lack cordage could mean losing a repair, a trap, a bundle, a shelter piece. To lack a container could mean leaving food behind because the hands were full. Preparedness was not a personality trait. It was survival distributed across the body. This is the container matters so much. It creates external memory. It lets the mind place responsibility into the world. The tinder is here. The blade is here. The pigment is here. The binding is here. The bag becomes a small map of needs. The basket becomes a temporary extension of camp. The sling becomes a moving home for a child. The quiver becomes future action resting against the back. Modern life has multiplied this beyond anything ancient humans could have imagined. We carry phones that contain maps, money, messages, calendars, photographs, voices, weather, music, identity, work, and emergency contact. One small rectangle now holds what once required memory, social networks, trails, tools, and years of bodily knowledge. That is real progress. Modern containers protect medicine, food, documents, water, and technologies that save lives. Backpacks carry books, laptops, baby supplies, insulin, cameras, clean clothes, and everything a person needs to cross a city. Pockets are brilliant. Bags are brilliant. The modern world has made carrying easier, lighter, and more powerful. But something strange happened. The objects became smarter, while the body became less certain. Ancient preparation required attention. You had to know the weather, the distance, the group, the season, the tool, the risk. You carried what your experience told you mattered. Modern preparation often means checking a device that does the remembering for you. You may carry more information than any ancestor in history, yet feel less oriented when the battery dies. That is the uncomfortable mirror hidden inside a pocket. Ancient humans were not primitive because they lacked modern pockets. They had a deeper technology, the ability to turn uncertainty into something they could carry. They carried food, tools, cord, pigment, fire materials, children, symbols, and social meaning. But beneath all of that, they carried a relationship with the future. The real lesson is not that ancient people had bags before we had pockets. The real lesson is that carrying was never just transportation. It was emotional engineering. It made danger feel negotiable. It made distance survivable. It made the invisible future touchable. So go back to your door. Watch your hand search your pocket. Phone, keys, wallet, maybe your bag strap across your shoulder. The objects are modern, but the gesture is ancient. You are asking the same question someone asked before crossing a dark valley, a cold plain, a dangerous forest. Am I ready? You are not separate from them. You are what survived. The pocket changed. The fear did not. The technology changed. The need did not. And somewhere under the fabric, glass, metal, and plastic, an ancient body still refuses to step into the unknown empty-handed.